Hey out there, Chiroguys. We are here today to talk about how to develop and improve muscle memory and how to build it again. That is good. All right.
That is good. What is muscle memory?
It is good.
Muscle memory is connection between your brain and your muscles, and it's developed through repetition. It's what you do when you have that unconscious ability to do things.
Yes.
You know, the analogy, it's always a nice, easy one. It's like riding a bike. We rode a bike, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of hours while we were kids. And if we haven't done it in 20, 30 years, all of a sudden we jump on a bike, we're not going to start falling over like 3-year-old Jeromy and Matt. We're going to ride the bike because we have the muscle memory already built in.
It's an amazing process, and it's not talked about enough, I think, you know, in all of healthcare.
Well, we don't want to be talked about too much because we want people to watch our video.
Yeah, so right now,
only talk a little.
This, yes. Take it out there, and then we'll talk about it all over the place. But with muscle memory, it is such a critical role in what we're doing. And today we're going to talk about improving all those different aspects. So.
But if you talk about improving, you of course should look at the link for our video for on the dark side of muscle memory.
You got to look at that first to see why, if you don't improve it, or
where it can go and how it can lead to injury.
Exactly. So what do you think the first step would be?
Well, so when we talk about, you know, bad muscle memory, we say, okay, well, I want to improve it because you could develop this habit. You could, you know, we use like Olympic lifting, we use golf swings, we use, you know, a thing we have to do for our job. And if we're using this bad habit, we're using bad form,
exactly.
And then our body is more likely to get injured, more likely to break down. And it doesn't mean, well, if you've developed bad muscle memory, you're toast. You're just, it's over. It's like, no, you can actually rewire the system.
That is true.
You can rewire the brain talking to the muscles through repetition. And so, but before we start building the repetition, step one, we need to figure out what good form is.
Exactly. And that's one of the big things that I see. I love weightlifting. I love weightlifting, CrossFit, powerlifting. I've done many different things. And one of the things that you have people run into is there's not a lot, you know, you have a giant gym, right, with thousands of people that sign up to go there, and then they'll go in and they'll say, they'll go in, but they won't have the first clue of what to do. It's always been a frustration of mine. It's almost like there should be, like in a work, there's a training video on how to do certain things. There should be that with a gym, you know, in a sense. So say, here's how you lift that, because you see so many incorrect things, and then you do that more often. That's what leads to the different things.
And that's what's tough, is because, you know, we're in a predominantly factory town, and so what happens is they may have a ergonomic thing or proper lifting class or something that might be taught to you at orientation.
Right.
And then you just, okay, now go work 50 hours a week.
Right.
And you start to break down, you develop the bad habit. If every 3 months someone came and said, hey, I'm gonna do an analysis of how you're moving.
Right.
And oh, you know what? You see how you do this? That's gonna break things down more. You see how you're reaching like this? Okay, move it closer. You know, whatever, right?
Yeah, I totally get you.
But if you can have someone constantly refining, that's why elite athletes have coaches. That's why there's a swing coach in golf and baseball. That's why there's shot coaches in basketball. It's because they're trying to constantly refine. So step one is you got to get that good form. Right. You got to know what it is.
And there's a bigger part that Matt's saying right there. Care about your better form. And I don't mean that badly. It's just in all of our different parts of our lives, we don't really care about this portion very much. So when we start something, we just say, hey, I'm going to the gym. Hey, I'm going to start working. Hey, I'm going to go run 18 miles, and I've never really ran before. So those are kind of things. What you need to do is give a crap about making sure that your form is there so that you can do it for a really long time. That's, you know, and that's the key to the whole thing. But we have to get our brain there. You know, like I'll give an example of CrossFit. When I first started, I probably couldn't do, there are some movements in there that are just, I'm mesmerized because they're so hard to do. And so my uncoordinated butt was having the hardest time doing a full squat thrust or, you know, those kind of things correctly. And so a lot of times you have to slow down get that form right, and then you can move on, you know. And so there's stuff I'm still working on that I can't do very well, you know. And
I remember, I can't remember what they call them, but where you do a pull up and then you go
thruster. No.
But
right?
you do a pull up and you
yeah.
And you do that motion. And the first time someone shows me, I'm like, oh, I want to try one of those. And I tried it, and like, I mean, I was like, you know, doing it like pushing myself up like this is horrible. Like I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah, and that's what we see most
but proper
of the time.
form is important, is essential.
Exactly. But in our brains, we say we want to just do it. So we'll try to like lift this giant amount of weight, and as you're shaking and turning and doing all this stuff, you hurt something.
You're gonna hurt something.
That's the hard part. Yeah. So it's always the form thing is so
that's
critical.
Step one.
Yep.
Figure out the form. Step two, it's quality over quantity.
Every time.
And so if we say this proper form, well, you know, I'm right there with the rest of the world. If some is good, more is better. If someone says, hey, you should drink more water, I'm the guy that's gonna now drink like 400 ounces of water and go,
right.
Why am I peeing all the time and feeling so lightheaded? It's because I'm flushing out all my toxins.
Right.
I mean, all my minerals, I'm sorry, and my toxins too.
That's so
but
true.
It's just, but you know, so we take this spirit of, well, I gotta do it all right now. It's
Correct.
like, no, break it down to its component parts.
Yeah.
Is if your workstation is set up a certain way, address this one portion, don't address your whole workstation.
Right.
If your golf swing's off, focus on your approach to the ball, then focus on your backswing, then focus on your follow through. That's
exactly.
what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then focus on your follow through, but break it down to its component parts and master the approach, master the backswing, master the
right.
follow through, and guess what? Over time, you mastered the form in the process. But it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
It's not, well, I'm just going to do all this. No, make sure you understand the parts and pieces of how to do it right. And you focus on one part and piece, not all parts and pieces.
So it's interesting. There's a book, Good to Great,
this is a wonderful example.
It is because you say, okay, now you have that one piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this Good to Great book, a lot of times you're looking at strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, I'm very strong at this kind of movement.
Yep.
Let's add this other one. So that one, do all the time because you're good at it. So then why not add the next one in the slow play quality, and then you get to add another thing that you'll probably be great at eventually. So I love that.
Well, and that's great. You know, so step two could be called good to great.
Yeah.
It also could be called how to eat an elephant. One bite at a time, right?
Right.
And so that's really what we're saying. We say quality over quantity. And then step three is really, really confusing. So if you have not been taking notes yet, you need to take notes on this one because step three is really, really confusing.
Yes, go back and rewind right now. We'll give you time to. Do you have a piece of paper?
There's like a 15-second button or
Pencil?
something. Yeah.
Notebook?
It's step three is repeat.
Repeat all that stuff that we just said.
So learn what better form is. Quality over quantity, good to great, eat one bite at a time, eat the elephant, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But just keep repeating that, and just keep, slipping and checking, as the great B.J. Palmer said.
Oh yeah.
Is so as we just keep slipping and checking, and we just keep looking and going, hey, how am I doing in this?
Yeah.
You know, and we need to do that too.
Right.
The amount of chiropractors that have blown out shoulders by like 45, is atrocious.
It is.
Very atrocious,
Yeah.
and so we have to be mindful. We have to hold each other accountable. But we have to be mindful of, are we protecting that shoulder? Because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of you.
And
we like taking care of you.
Exactly. And I laugh because it's the same thing. It's we got to get away. We got to become humble enough to take that and see what's happening. I remember learning this stuff from the older doctor that I would take the practice from, and the angles were all, where from his perspective, I couldn't see it. Now with the technology we have, video that person, help them out that way. I'm like the kids growing up with video, they can rewatch it. Yeah, you get slow motion stuff. It's crazy.
So he's got a daughter that's really, really good at softball. I got a kid that's pretty good at soccer, different things too, but just as those two examples. And I can say to my kids, hey, approach the ball like this, and this is going to give you more power. And actually, why aren't you doing it right? But if I video him and show him on my phone and say, hey.
You don't even have to say anything.
Yeah, you don't, because I've already pointed out what the good form is. Yeah. Now, as soon as he looks at it, he goes, oh, Dad was right the whole time.
See, and what's interesting about kids too is they're watching this stuff. So my daughter will watch a softball pitcher constantly like throwing, and she's a lefty, so she always loves watching those kids. But then when I video her brain is connecting those two, right? So like we'll bring up Tom Brady and make up for us, like because he's a subscriber. So So he said in an interview that his dad would take him to the Super Bowl all the time.
Yeah.
Like he went to quite a few. Well, think about that. What's the better practice of anything in the world?
Of getting to the pinnacle is going to.
He went to the Super Bowl as a kid.
That's pretty cool.
So you think, oh my gosh, he was completely enamored with that aspect. And when you, that's how your brain works. That's your brain will take those things and go, I want to do that. I want to do that. So it's fantastic for your kids to also watch those sports.
Yep.
You know, so the video game one doesn't work because there's not a lot of good mechanics in there, I don't think. Because they're a little dude on the screen, but maybe they will eventually.
That's a whole nother discussion.
That'll probably never be a thing.
So, but the reality is how do you want to improve muscle memory? First, you got to figure out what the good form is. Secondarily, is you want to break it down to its component parts and improve part by part by part. Don't try to improve the whole thing all at once, and then repeat. You know, it's as simple as that. That is how you improve muscle memory.
Get a partner in doing that.
Yeah, so. It'd be great if you have a coach. It'd be great of different things. But in this day and age, you can just take a video, and there's all sorts of articles and blog posts and videos and all sorts of things on YouTube that you can actually see what better form is.
Yeah.
You know, and frankly, or if you're working in the factory, talk to the person next to you and be like, dude, you don't seem to be as miserable as I am at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, and look up, and I don't mean this bad, but look up the one that I'm impressed with is on YouTube is CrossFit. They actually put a video pretty much of every exercise that they have in their workouts. I love it. And then you find the one, and then it shows you what good form is. Take a video of yourself, put it next to it.
Do you look like that?
Yeah, if you don't, then that's the hard part.
Then tweak it, improve it, but do it step by step. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. And watch the rest of these videos. Also, below is a link for a free trigger point guide that you may like. So
I'd like one of those.
Yes, they're awesome. Just click that link below. Thanks.
You know, Laura's mom.
Yeah.
And Granny said this week, and she goes, Josh, he says, do I need to give you the birds and bees talk? And he's like, no, Granny. She goes, all right, you know all that stuff they're teaching you in that life skills class at school? He goes, yeah, Granny. She goes, don't do the homework.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And that's my granny.
That's awesome.
That's my granny.